Alright YouTube, what is going on? It's Hightower 5000 here today, bringing another Runescape 3 video. Today's video is a Herblore calculator with portable wells and the scroll of cleansing included in this one big formula. Now before anyone asks, yes, there is a Wikipedia page which basically works out your sort of cost of XP with the scroll of cleansing anyway, but there's nothing in there with portable wells, and of course if you're wanting to train Herblore, especially in the higher levels anyway, then it is very beneficial of using both the scroll of cleansing and portable wells. It's not too difficult to calculate, but I'll be showing you in this video how to do it anyway. Also this page which I've got down below, basically it's the XP to GP calculator. Basically prices fluctuate every 5 minutes just because Herblore, unfinished potions, secondary ingredients, these are all traded every single minute, so the prices change by minute literally. And the thing is that the Wikipedia page only takes in the medium price, and it also only gets updated every 24 hours like the Grand Exchange does. So before I actually get into the full formula, I just need to explain one or two wee things. What are the scroll of cleansing first of all? This is a great thing which requires 20,000 dungeoneering tokens. Dungeoneering tokens are those things which you gain along with completing a floor. For example, if you go ahead and get 20k from a floor, then what will happen is you'll get 2,000 dungeoneering tokens. You also get them with sinkholes, other activities like that, and also get them on treasure hunter keys as well. Requires 20,000 of those, also requires a level of 49 Herblore and dungeoneering to get. Now what do you get from scroll of cleansing? Well, the benefits, as you can see, are on screen. You get a 1 in 8 or 12.5% chance of making a potion twice as fast. That's not overly important anyway, but it is a nice wee benefit. But this is the main one why people buy it, scroll of cleansing. You get a 1 in 10 or 10% chance in saving a herb when adding it to a vial of water or coconut milk, or saving a secondary ingredient when adding it into an unfinished potion. So this does really help anyway. The second benefit, as I said, is the most important by far. Basically, if you're saving a secondary ingredient and secondary ingredients are costing up to 5, even sometimes more, okay, then it's great for doing unfinished potions. Or if you're going ahead and making unfinished potions and maybe making some money off that and not training Herblore, then it's always good obviously, because some herbs can be very expensive. As I said, scroll of cleansing is actually included in the Wikipedia page below. That is a great page anyway. But if you're wanting exacts, and I mean to the very exact GP, although some of this is a bit of luck, it's a 1 in 8 and a 1 in 10 chance, you want a more accurate, exact XP to GP loss or profit, so that's why I'm also going to be including portable wells in this formula as well. So what are portable wells? Portable wells can be used anyway, and basically they give you some benefits. So these can be won with treasure hunter keys, or they can be bought on the Grand Exchange for around 25k. These do fluctuate. Right now obviously because double XP weekend is coming up, they have gone up, but often there's no need for you to actually individually buy them, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But what are the benefits of portable wells and what is the point in using them? Well, they first of all give you a 10% more experience, which is absolutely great. Herblore is a very costly skill anyway, and getting 10% more experience on a continuous basis is a real absolute must if you're going for them higher levels. And also it gives you a 1 in 20 or a 5% chance of creating an extra potion. You may think that 5% doesn't matter, but of course this is going to add up. For example, if you're doing 1,000 potions, 10,000 potions, and of course when you go to sell these back anyway, then you'll make more money than you originally were going to make, and this means you will have less of a loss or more of a profit. As I said, there's no need to actually go out and buy portable wells for yourself. What you can do is join this friends chat, Portables friends chat, to find locations. Basically what happens is you go into one of these friend chats. Portable's not the only one anyway, but Portables is the one I use. What you do is you go into these, you ask where a portable well is, and then basically they'll tell you. So for example, a lot of the times it's on World 100 at the combat arena in Lumbridge, often on World 2 as well at Berthorpe. Basically there's a lot of portable wells, a lot of other portable stuff as well, like sawmills. So these are locations that basically you don't have to pay to use them. People who are very rich usually just buy a whole lot of them, and then they'll put them down for maybe an hour or something, so they're hosting for that hour, and that means that you don't have to go out and buy them, which saves you in turn more money. Alright, okay, so now moving on to the experience. This is the much easier part, which isn't very difficult. So what I'm going to be using as an example in this is super strength and 1,000 potions, because super strength is a very common potion that is made, and also 1,000 potions I think is a good amount as well to be making. Now obviously you want to use your formula, so substitute in what you're going to be doing. So for example, if you're going to be doing overloads or whatever, then make sure you put that where it says super strength, or the XP for creating a potion, and then the amount you're going to do. Say you do 10,000 instead of my example of 1,000, put 10,000 in there. So what the formula is XP for creating a potion, which for super strength it's 125, times the amount of materials. Now I've got enough materials to make 1,000 potions, And then what you're going to do is you times them both together, and then you times that again by 1.1. Why do you times it by 1.1? Because that takes in the 10% XP boost, and that'll give you your final total of XP. Quite easy to work out. As you see, super strengths are 125. I am making 1,000 of them. When I times that by 1.1 and then two numbers together, I get 137,500 XP. If you do have double XP, or it is double XP weekend coming up, then make sure that you go ahead and times that final total by 2 once you've done all the other calculations. Right, okay, so this is where it gets very complicated, and I did get a wee bit complicated myself actually, but what I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to talk you through this. Before we move on though, make sure you actually write down the total XP that you're going to get from the last picture. So first of all, what we need to do is calculate the total input, which is basically the total amount of GP you will be spending to buy all your resources. So first of all, what you need to do is the amount of unfinished potions, or the amount of potions you really want to make. So say you want to make 1,000, and then you times that by the unfinished potion price. So for example, I want to do 1,000 unfinished potions, and then I need to times that by the amount of like unfinished Quarren potions, which are used to make strength potions. I think they're about 5.5k. That's the first calculation you need to do. Then this is the complicated part. You then need to add that to the amount of secondary ingredients, which is going to be 1,000, because I'm obviously going to be making 1,000 unfinished potions. However, it's not. You're actually going to times that 1,000 by 0.9, and that is going to give you 900. Why 900? You only need 900 secondary ingredients, just because the Scroll of Cleansing allows you a 1 in 10 or 10% chance of saving a secondary ingredient. So in a sense, there's no need to actually go ahead and buy all these 1,000 secondary ingredients. You could go ahead and buy 1,000 unfinished potions and 1,000 secondary ingredients, however you're likely to have about 100 secondary ingredients left over. That's why here I am saving you some time and going ahead. There's only need to buy around about 900. I suppose though you can be safe actually go ahead and buy 1,000 second ingredients and then sell back the remaining rough 100 that you're going to get. Now one thing I do need to make clear here is that the higher amount of potions you create, it's going to be more accurate. So obviously if you're going ahead and only making 100, then that 10% isn't going to be as accurate as making 10,000 potions. I also need to stress to you that it will not always be 10%. You're not always going to save a secondary ingredient every 10 times. Sometimes it's going to be a roughly an 8% chance, other times it might be a 12% chance. So if you are going ahead and buy 900, you might not even use all them 900 up, or you might land up needing a few more secondary ingredients, so just keep that in mind as well. So anyway, it's the amount of secondary ingredients times 0.9, so in my case it is going to be 900, and then after you've done that calculation, you then need to times that by the secondary ingredient price. That will then give you the total input price which you need to spend on buying all the resources for creating the finished potions. So let's just run through the example as well, because that was kind of complicated actually. What in my case, again, I'm using 1,000 potions, so my first calculation is going to be 1,000 times the price of the unfinished potions. I'm then going to add that to 900, which is 1,000 times 0.9, so it's going to be then 900 times the price of the secondary ingredient, so it's going to be one large figure plus another large figure, or the two figures in the brackets, and then that's going to equal the total input in GP. Go ahead again and write this number down as well, because we'll be using this in the overall total calculation. This number is probably going to be higher than your actual output. That'll indicate that you'll be making a loss, but that's expected for Herblore. Alright, so talking about output, let's go ahead and calculate that. So first of all, the amount of unfinished potions that we've got, we need to times that by 1.05. That's because wells give us a 5% chance of getting an extra potion. What we need to do is times that overall number of the amount of potions which we're going to create, which was the unfinished potions, times that by 0.5, and that gives us the output potions. In my case, it's 1,000 times 1.05, which gives me 1,050 potions. So now that we've worked out the output potions, or basically the amount of potions that we're going to get, we're going to then times that by the price of potion, and that'll give us our total output or total sell back price, if you get what I mean. So for example, if you were to go ahead and sell all your stuff on the Grand Exchange, then you'd have the amount of output, which in my case is going to be 1,050, and I'm going to times it by the price of the potion. Now remember that the potions you create are 3 doses, they're not 4 doses, they're only 3 doses, so go ahead, check the price of 3 doses, times it by the output potions, the amount of outputted potions, then that'll give you your total output in GP. Right, okay, so before I move on to my example, we need to do the final calculation of XP to GP. So what you want to do is take the total output, which we just calculated above, and then take that away from the total input, which we calculated in the previous picture, and that'll give you your profit or loss. Now this number is most likely to be a negative number, and that will show that you have made a loss. However, there's a small possibility that might be positive. I can imagine it's not going to be positive very much if it is positive. However, there's a possibility, but it is most likely going to be negative, so don't worry, your calculations are correct. Now with that negative number that you have just calculated, what you want to do, that profit or loss which you can see on the screen, you want to divide that by the final total XP rate. That was the amount which we totaled up on the XP rate page. That was 2 or 3 slides ago, so go back there and hopefully you should have a note of that anyway, like I told you to do. What you want to do is divide profit and loss by the final total XP rate, and that will basically give you the cost of 1 experience in GP. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually do a full-on example with actual prices of super strengths, because it's a lot difficult to sort of pick it up when it's just in words. You usually want to see examples. I usually need an example to actually get something like, for example, a maths, and this is very maths orientated, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and now do. Now I do realise this video is already very long, so if you want to go ahead and just go ahead and use the formula without seeing the example and do that, that's totally fine. Of course, again, if you want to check out the Wikipedia link below and just use the scroll cleansing and get a less accurate, but still in a sense accurate, XP to GP rate, then go ahead and click that down below. I'm going to do my example now. XP rate, we already technically calculated. This is a very easy thing to do. So I'm going to be doing 1000 super strengths. Super strengths give you 125 XP for creating them. I'm going to be creating 1000 of them. And then of course, to count in the 10% XP boost which you get from portable wells, I times that by 1.1. So in total, I'm going to be getting 137,500 XP. Right, okay, so now time to calculate our input price. So again, I put the formula at the top, and then I've put my example in at the bottom here. So it's the amount of unfinished potions times the unfinished potion price. So I'm making 1000 potions, and then timesing that by the unfinished potion. Now the unfinished potion buying price right now is 6,271 GP. Now make sure you do not, for God's sake, put the bloody medium price in there. The medium price, which is the price listed on the Grand Exchange, that changes every 5 minutes, just because these items are commonly traded. So go ahead and just buy 1 unfinished potion. That'll give you the rough price of what they are going to be buying at anyway. Now, you do need to remember as well, at the time you do this calculation, they might have gone up 1 or 2 GP. They're not going to jump up significantly in 5 minutes. They might just change 1 or 2 GP though, so remember, keep that in mind. Then you're going to go ahead and add in the amount of secondary ingredients times 0.9, so I'm doing 1000. And I'm times that by 0.9, so that gives me 900. So make sure you do 900, then times that by the secondary ingredient price. In my case, limpwort roots, which is a secondary ingredient, are 1,841 GP. I'm timesing that by 900. And as you can see in the line below, those are the two numbers that come out the brackets. I then add them up, and I get 7,927,900 GP. That is the amount of money I'm having to invest to get myself 1000 unfinished potions and also 900 secondary ingredients. Statistically, that should make me 1000 potions. Right, okay, so now we need to calculate the output potions. This is how many potions we're going to be creating. Now, it's not going to be 1000 as simple as that, because you get a 5% chance of creating an extra potion with portable wells, so you need to take that into consideration. So the amount of unfinished potions, which was 1000 in my case, then get times that by 1.05, that is adding on the 5%. That means that I'm going to output of 1050 potions. With that number then, you're going to times that by the price of your outputted potion, which for me is super strength. You need to remember that it's the 3rd dose, it's not the maximum 4 doses. Potions you make only come out as 3 doses, so in my case it's going to be 1050 times 6,363 GP, which totals 6,681,150 GP. That there is our total output in GP. So we're now going to use that total output in GP, and we're going to take that away from the total input which we calculated in the last page, and then that is going to give us our profit or loss. So in my case, it's going to be, the total output is 6,681,150, take away 7,927,900, and that gives us a loss of minus 1,246,750 GP in total. So let's work out what 1 XP costs in GP. So the profit or loss, you want to go ahead and divide that by the final total XP rate. So in my case it's going to be minus 1,246,750 GP. We're then going to divide that by a total XP rate, which we calculated 1 or 2 pictures back, so that is 137,500 XP. That is then going to equal minus 9.06 GP, so it's basically going to be minus 9 GP. So that means that for every 1 XP that you train in Herblore with this super strengths anyway, you're going to lose 9 GP. So there we go. As you can see, this method is actually kind of expensive anyway. I mean, 9 GP for 1 experience in Herblore isn't too bad actually. So if you are going to go ahead and use this, which I'm going to be using anyway, it's one of the cheaper methods right now. At double XP, obviously, that means that I'm actually only going to be losing 4.5 GP per 1 XP, which isn't too bad actually. That's actually quite good for Herblore, trust me. So, going to do a lot of training of that though. You do need to remember right now when I'm making this video that double XP weekend is coming up, so Herblore prices and Herblore stuff are just all over the place right now, changing every 2 seconds, even more than they would usually anyway. Now, looking back to this Wikipedia page anyway, why is this more accurate? Well, it says under the super strengths, it basically tells you that for 1 XP, just making potions straight up without any scroll cleansing or portable wells, that for 1 XP it's going to cost you 13 GP or 13.01, so round that down to 13 GP. So you're going to lose 13 GP, so obviously by using Scroll of Cleansing and Portable Wells it definitely is more efficient. And then if you just use Scroll of Cleansing anyway, which Wikipedia also goes ahead and tells you, then you are going to be losing 11.5 GP per XP. So that again, in a sense actually, this is a lot more accurate because it's taken in Portable Wells, and Portable Wells do make a significant difference. The Wikipedia page also isn't 100% right on its calculations as well sometimes, and of course loads of people view the Wikipedia page. It is well known in the, I was going to say Herblore community there, but in the Runescape community. A lot of people use it, I use it, until I decided that I want a more accurate calculation. So obviously, if 1,000 people are going to that page a day, or maybe even in an hour for example, and then they're checking out, okay, which is the cheapest, they see the cheapest, everyone's going to want the cheapest. So that is why as soon as people see, oh, this is the cheapest method, they're going to go for that. Then prices of those items that are the cheapest are going to start to go up. So I mean, you need to be sort of updating and having a formula to use all the time really, and that's what this allows you to do anyway. So hope this video has helped you out anyway. It was a wee bit complicated I guess in a sense. You do have to have a good understanding, or at least an understanding anyway, of basic maths, but hope this will help you out anyway. It definitely helps me out when I am trying to choose what potion is the best for me to make anyway, because obviously I want to keep as much of my money as possible. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching this video. If you're new around here, then hit the subscribe button. If you missed the last episode of Road to Max, then click the link down in the description below. Please leave a comment if you'd like any sort of these other guides. New video about double XP weekend coming out either tomorrow or very early on Friday morning. My name is Hightower 5000 and I'm out. Adios.